Stop. Whatever you are doing right now, stop. What I have to tell you today isn't for everyone who hears it, but it is deeply personal for you. Something happened in your spirit in these past few days. Something you can't explain with human words, but that you feel in every fiber of your being. The 31st of May closes a heavy cycle, a chapter of exhaustion you carried far longer than you should have. You felt the weight, you felt the resistance, and now you stand before the door that is closing for good. By the end of this message, you will recognize the exact signs that have been appearing in your life and understand why they are not coincidences, but warnings of a necessary transition. You will understand why certain doors stayed locked, even when you tried your hardest to open them. And before this time ends, I will deliver a clarity directly over your path, a revelation that explains why you had to go through what you went through. Stay with me, because what is coming is the key to what you have been seeking in silence. You have noticed things that no one around you perceives. Maybe you have woken up repeatedly at 3 a.m. without a logical reason, feeling a strange urgency as if waiting for a call. You have experienced sudden waves of melancholy or an inexplicable desire to withdraw from social circles that once felt comfortable. Conversations that used to flow naturally now sound empty, shallow, echoing only the noise of a world that doesn't understand what you are processing. You have seen sequences of numbers that repeat in unexpected places, as if the universe were trying to capture your attention through codes. These signs are the evidence that you are being calibrated. The exhaustion you feel is not a sign of defeat, but the result of an intense process of realignment. You have been trying to force movement in directions where life had already stopped flowing. You have been pulling ropes that in truth were no longer attached to anything. Your fingers typing those 3 numbers are your spirit saying yes. It is the smallest agreement, but it is the most real. Type 888 and then return immediately to me. The diagnosis is simple, though the execution has been painful. You have applied disproportionate attention. You need to prepare yourself now. I have prepared material for those who doubt their own calling from God and still do not have confirmation. Are you one of the chosen? We'll give you that clarity. These are the 7 signs of the language of the calling, marks of God in the story of every chosen one, so you can reread your story and recognize the purpose sealed over you before the foundation of the world. Stop calling coincidence what is actually a calling. Stop silencing the sacred restlessness. Stop postponing the answer you feel. Your window is closing, and a chosen one who does not recognize the calling does not walk in purpose. More than 10,000 people have already read the 7 signs and received the conviction they had been seeking for years. They were just like you. They felt something no one understood. They lived in silent doubt, and they discovered it was real. And it had a name. The offer is open only this month. Access the link in the pinned comment now, before doubt steals another year from your calling. Passionate effort, absolute dedication, in a place that was no longer your harvest ground. You gave yourself to roles, to expectations, to standards that were designed for a version of you that no longer exists. For months or perhaps years, you worked with the sweat of your brow, believing that the intensity of your commitment would be what opened the passage. But the truth, that truth that hurts and liberates at the same time, is that you were trying to nourish a tree that was already dry. You were trying to keep alive a structure that destiny itself had already sentenced to an end. Many around you still applaud your effort, not knowing that you are dying inside to sustain the performance. You have become a master at carrying the weight of the world, believing that your capacity to bear load was the measure of your worth. But disproportionate effort applied to the wrong place does not generate growth. It only generates an exhaustion that consumes your essence. What you lived was not a waste of time, but an intensive course in unlearning. You needed to learn the limit of your reach. You needed to see with your own eyes that what is yours does not require you to destroy yourself to conquer it. What is yours recognizes you even before you strive. Now we begin to observe the hidden structure that placed you in that place, the deep root that still holds your heart tied to the past. Now imagine the image of a harvest that was sown in silence during the coldest nights of your personal winter. For a long time, you fed those fields without seeing a single leaf sprout. You watered with patience, you cared with dedication, and still the surface remained arid, as if the earth had refused to return the fruit. But what you did not realize is that the growth was not happening outward, it was happening inward. There is a repressed harvest within your being, an energy that was held back for so long under the pressure of your own expectations that it now cries out for space. It is not that the fruit died, it is that it reached the limit of the container where you kept it. This accumulation of promises, of dreams, of intentions that you kept in secret, is now pushing against the walls of your reality, demanding a new dimension to manifest. You stand before a spiritual reservoir that is about to overflow, and the exhaustion you feel is, in truth, the pressure of something too great to be contained by what you live today. Many interpret this depletion as a certificate of failure, a mark that the effort was not enough or that the chosen path was a mistake. But listen carefully to the truth hidden beneath this feeling. What you feel is not failure. It is the depletion of what no longer belongs to you. You are living the necessary emptying so that the new can enter. That old skin you wore to please, to serve, to fit into molds forged by other hands, simply no longer bears the light emerging from within you. You are exhausted because you are trying to carry the baggage of a life that has already ended, while the hands of a new time are already reaching out to offer you a garment that weighs less and shines brighter. The end of this cycle on the 31st of May is not a loss, it is a liberation. It is the removal of the support that kept you tied to a level of existence that has been surpassed by your spiritual growth. Let this declaration seal the understanding where it has just landed. The act of typing these 3 words makes this perception permanent in your own record, ceasing to be just a passing thought and becoming a new foundation upon which you will walk. Type these words calmly, feeling the weight of each letter, and then return immediately to me. The solution for the moment you are going through does not lie in doing more, in planning more, or in striving to force a door that does not move. The solution is the return to internal alignment and the total detachment from this performative effort that drained your joy. You do not need to build a ladder to reach what is yours. You only need to step out of the way of your own essence. There is a current of life that flows through you, and your only role is to stop trying to control the direction it flows. Alignment happens when you finally accept that your greatest contribution is not what you do, but who you allow yourself to be when you are not trying to impress the world or justify your existence. Letting go of performative effort is the most courageous gesture you can make. It is accepting that your worth is non-negotiable, that it does not depend on visible results, and that you are worthy of fullness even on days when you produce nothing. When you understand that your alignment is your greatest tool, the need to fight disappears. You begin to operate from a center of calm, where what is destined for you finds its way without you having to force the entrance. If something in this message confirmed what your spirit was already whispering in your moments of solitude, let your like be your amen without words. Not as an audience metric, not as a gesture aimed at numbers, but as a deep agreement that what was named here was named with clarity and that you recognize the truth behind these words. Each gesture of agreement is a seal placed on the transformation that is occurring. A silent acknowledgement between what you hear and what you feel is undeniably real. We are walking toward the base of the structure, toward the core of the revelation that this end of the cycle, on the 31st of May, brings to your journey. Be attentive, because what we are about to reveal is what sustains your ability to stand when everything you knew seems to be dissolving around you. You have noticed that the people around you seem to operate on a completely different frequency from yours, and this has created an isolation that, though painful, has been your greatest teacher. The distancing is not a punishment, it is a protection. It is the way the universe found to keep your seed pure while the process of germination happens, away from the contamination of skepticism and the haste of those who still do not understand the language of sacred time. You are being prepared to lead, to be the beacon that points the way, but for that you needed to learn to be your own harbor, to find within yourself the validation that for so long you sought in the applause of others. This transition demands courage, demands the willingness to abandon the safe port of routine to navigate the waters of your own intuition. And what you are living now, this mixture of deep fatigue with an almost palpable expectation, is the definitive sign that the transition is complete. We are switching the key now to the final part of our recognition, where what was planted in secret becomes the foundation of what will be harvested under the light of the approaching day. What you feel as emptiness is, in truth, a space that was cleared so that something greater could dwell. You are not being left behind. You are being positioned ahead. What comes next will demand from you a posture of one who has already understood that you no longer need to fight to be seen, because the light you now carry is impossible to ignore. You are becoming the very manifestation of the clarity you sought. Stay with me, because what rests at the base of this journey is the key to everything you will live from now on, an understanding that will transform the way you face each new dawn, lifting the weight from your shoulders and placing the lightness of certainty in the place of the doubt that accompanied you for so many seasons. Do not rush, because the wisdom being delivered now is not meant to be understood only by the mind, but to be assimilated by every fiber of your being, like one learning to breathe new air after a long climb. You are on the threshold, and what lies on the other side is exactly what your heart, in its most sincere moments, asked to be revealed. The journey to this point may have been marked by shadows and uncertainties, but every step, every stumble, every moment of silence was essential to forge the structure that now sustains your new reality. You are ready, not because you did everything right, but because you allowed life to do its work of refinement, removing what was superfluous and leaving only the essence. Breathe deeply now, letting this responsibility of surrender settle upon you with the lightness of one who knows they are only serving a greater purpose. Before we proceed to the final definitive end of this conversation of ours, there is one last step to consolidate what has been awakened. Do not do it as a wish, not as a hope that sways with the wind, but as an unshakable affirmation of your destiny. The agreement that formed between your spirit and the clarity we revealed in these minutes is the foundation upon which you will begin to build your reality from now on. Write these words slowly, feeling each letter as a seal you imprint on your own trajectory. Let your fingers confirm what your being has already accepted. You are committed, you are commissioned, you are sent. Every fiber of your being now vibrates at a frequency that no longer allows a return to what was small, to what was contained, to what was limited by fear. Your journey is no longer about trying, it is about being. Your presence now carries the authority of one who has understood that time is not something to be spent, but something to be occupied with purpose. You walk under the aegis of a clarity that does not fade when night falls, because the light you carry comes from a source that never runs out. The cycle that ends on the 31st of May is not just a date on the calendar. It is a watershed that leaves behind everything that served only to strengthen you and now delivers to you the keys to your new field of action. Go forth, because what has been prepared for you is already happening. Something shifted in the air since the sunset, and you began to pay attention to these signs that once seemed like mere coincidences. The 31st of May is not just any milestone, it is the edge of an abyss you needed to cross to finally leave behind the weight of a version of yourself that can no longer sustain what is coming. You felt this pressure in your chest, a kind of silent urgency that finds no echo in the people around you. And that is the absolute proof that you are being prepared for something far greater than what you planned for yourself. The doors that remained closed, the paths that insisted on not opening, all of that was a form of divine protection, a way to prevent you from spending your vital energy on grounds that were never meant to harvest what you planted. As the clock moves toward 23 hours and 11 minutes this Sunday, you feel a need to close, to decree, to put a definitive end to what kept you hostage to stagnation for so long. You have noticed the fatigue that does not pass with sleep, an exhaustion that seems to come from the soul, as if you were carrying a baggage that is not yours. You have seen repeated numbers, matching hours that flash on the screen of your phone or alarm clock, as if the universe were trying to capture your attention for a specific frequency you have not yet decoded. This distancing you feel from certain people, from certain social circles that used to be your safe harbor, is not a reason for sadness or isolation. It is the evidence that your vibration has changed, that your interior no longer resonates with the superficiality that once seemed normal. It is a call upward, an invitation to inhabit a space of greater clarity and greater purpose. And if you felt that these words describe exactly the silent storm you have been facing, know that this is the confirmation that you are exactly where you should be. If up to this moment you have perceived that this message is not just a sequence of sentences, but a mirror of your own journey, I want you to do something simple, yet deeply symbolic. The number 888 carries the energy of infinity, the representation of overflow, and the harvest that arrives after the long time of scarcity. It is not about the algorithm. It is about your personal declaration that you are ready to receive the abundance that the new month will bring. Type 888, firm that intention with your own hand, and then return immediately to where we are, because what we need to address now is the root of your difficulty. The pattern that has been blocking you is not a lack of faith, nor a lack of effort. On the contrary, you have been trying too hard, applying tremendous energy in directions that have become dead ends. It is as if you were trying to push a door that opens inward, using all your strength in a movement of resistance when the invitation was simply to turn the knob and enter gently. This exhaustion you feel is the result of years of trying to be someone you have already outgrown, or trying to keep alive a harvest that is already past its time to be gathered. You have lived what we call a damned harvest. Everything you planted in secret, all your silent prayers, all your sacrifices that no one saw, all of it was stored, waiting for the exact moment when you would be ready to administer what life wants to deliver to you. Do not measure the importance of this sentence. Just type, allowing your acceptance to become a decree you pronounce yourself. When you put your readiness into words, you signal to your unconscious that the era of waiting is over and the era of manifestation is beginning. It is an act of pure presence. It is the affirmation that you will no longer hide behind fear or the uncertainties of the past. You need to understand that this feeling of being out of place, out of time, or out of rhythm with the society around you is in fact your greatest advantage. What you went through, the pains you silenced, were not meant to destroy you, but to refine you, to remove the edges that would prevent you from carrying the weight of the glory reserved for your destiny. The solution is not to act more, to work more, to strive to prove your worth to those who were never attentive to it. The solution is the return, the total detachment from any need for performance. You no longer have to perform for the world. You only need to align yourself with what is already written in your own spiritual code. Often your exhaustion was the mechanism life used to stop you, to force you to sit, to breathe, and to observe what truly matters. If you had tried to continue with the same intensity as before, you would have missed the opportunity to see what we are revealing here now. This depletion you felt was not a failure in your system. It was the necessary reboot of your being. And that is why this Sunday, before we reach the limit of 23 hours and 11 minutes, it is essential that you understand that the new cycle does not begin with a great external achievement, but with an internal decision that you will no longer carry burdens that were not designed for your shoulders. There is, however, a mystery that accompanies this awakening. As you travel this path, a specific face appears in your mental field. You recognize these qualities. You see in that person's face a reflection of what you lived until recently. Do not keep this clarity only for yourself. Send this message to that person, not as a suggestion of content, but as a delivery of hope. They need to know that their cycle is also closing, that the light they hope for at the end of the tunnel is not a mirage, but the beginning of a new day they still cannot see. You will be the instrument of confirmation in their life, just as this moment is being for yours. The depth of what you're feeling right now has nothing to do with what the world calls exhaustion. What you're experiencing is the pressure of a new structure being assembled inside your spirit. It's as if your consciousness is being relocated, moving out of a territory where you were constantly tested by unworthiness, onto ground where your own essence is the only validation you need. Many times, your mind tries to interpret this discomfort as if it were a problem, as if something were wrong. But that's just the resistance of your ego, fighting to hold on to the old survival mode. The alignment you're seeking isn't something you build with your own hands through brute effort. It's something you allow by stopping the fight against the current that's carrying you exactly where you need to be. Sunday is the day of the inner harvest, the day when silence becomes your greatest tool for communicating with the invisible. By letting your breath match the rhythm of the universe, you realize that the exhaustion you've felt up to now was actually the energy being stored for this moment of transition. It's a harvest that was kept dammed up, waiting for the exact day, the perfect moment when the gates would open. Don't try to rush the process. Don't try to force the door that hasn't opened yet. Your job right now is only to watch your own transformation, like someone witnessing a change of seasons in their own soul. You've been a careful observer, someone who notices the details others overlook, and this gift of perception is the key that unlocks the vaults that have been sealed for years. What was heavy yesterday is starting to lose its density today, because you stopped holding a weight that was never yours to carry. Feel that movement of lightness beginning in your hands, rising up through your arms, until it reaches the center of your chest. This is where the new code installs itself. This is where the promise becomes tangible. Clarity won't come through an external voice shouting orders, but through an inner whisper that grows louder than any noise from the world. Before this closing, I need you to make a commitment, not to me, but to your own story. Don't write as if you're asking for a favor or as if you're waiting for an uncertain reply. Write like someone signing a decree of ownership over what was promised to you. Type slowly, feeling each letter as if you're engraving your name on a bronze plaque. Let your hands be the instrument that seals this new phase, turning hope into absolute conviction. Feel the weight of the 31st of May being left behind, like an old coat you no longer need to wear. Look at the person you've been up to now and recognize the courage it took to walk through the fog, even when you couldn't see the ground beneath your feet. Your like on this video is your way of saying amen without needing a single word, a silent agreement with what was revealed here today. It's a gesture of alignment with the truth that is now starting to bloom in your routine, an acknowledgement that you are exactly where you're supposed to be. There's someone near you, maybe someone you haven't seen in weeks, who has been carrying a burden no one notices. That person has the same restlessness you once felt, and the same desire to understand why things seem stuck. Their face came to your mind while I was speaking. It wasn't a coincidence. Send this message to them, not as advice, but as a delivery of hope. You are committed, you are commissioned, you are sent. Right now, all across the world, thousands of other souls are tuned into this same frequency, receiving the same recognition, and feeling the weight of the old cycle collapse to make way for what is being born. You are not alone in this crossing. You are part of a silent movement. People who have decided to stop fighting and simply start allowing the flow of life. That unity is the strength that sustains the new time that now begins for you. It is sealed. Attention! You need to prepare yourself now. I have prepared material for those who doubt their own calling from God and still do not have confirmation. Are you one of the chosen? We'll give you that clarity. These are the 7 signs of the language of the calling, marks of God in the story of every chosen one, so you can reread your story and recognize the purpose sealed over you before the foundation of the world. Stop calling coincidence what is actually a calling. Stop silencing the sacred restlessness. Stop postponing the answer you feel. Your window is closing, and a chosen one who does not recognize the calling does not walk in purpose. More than 10,000 people have already read the 7 signs and received the conviction they had been seeking for years. They were just like you. They felt something no one understood. They lived in silent doubt, and they discovered it was real. And it had a name. The offer is open only this month. Access the link in the pinned comment now before doubt steals another year from your calling.